What's up, everybody? My name is Kayle, and welcome to patch 8.1 patch notes. Now, I know this is kind of old news. It came out the other day, but I still wanted to touch upon it because there are a couple of things that I am excited about. The first of which being the new season is going to start on the 16th. That's pretty cool. The 16th is 5 days from now. I don't know when you'll see this, probably like 4 days from now, but still, either way, it's pretty cool. I'm excited for it. I haven't gotten to play ranked, or I haven't really been putting time into ranked because it's the off season. I don't necessarily really care. I've just been kind of focusing on getting better. So I'm excited to get back into ranked and see how well I do this season. But with that out of the way, let's get into the actual changes that are going to be coming in 8.1. So the first change they mentioned is you can now get Hex Tech chests for each champion by getting an S- rank or higher. So that's nice. More chests equals more blue essence equals more flare things, emotes, I guess, so that's kind of nice. And then this other cool change that they did is, in Challenger tier, Challenger players can now duo with other challengers. Now, this will not directly affect many of you. It will probably affect none of you watching this. And it definitely will not affect me at all. So I really don't want to put any input on this because I have no clue how this will affect anyone. I know that this has been a very big topic of discussion with people, and I know some people are for it, some people are against it. It doesn't affect me, so I really can't talk much about it, but that's kind of cool that they're changing it and seeing how, and they're reacting to how challengers, respond to it, so I like that. Moving on to the actual changes within the game, Brand is the first one. Passive damage over time is increased. Brand was one of the top users of Deathfire Touch, and without it, his damage is lacking, so they increased his passive blaze percent health, maximum health damage by 2%. That's actually very big. This is actually that's literally double the amount of damage he had beforehand. So that's pretty big. It's not gonna be amazing. Like, I don't think Brand is seen very often. I think that he's still a niche pick. He can do a lot of damage. He can, really turn a fight with his ultimate, but like, he has very limited mobility. It's kind of tough to play Brand with the current champions that are in the meta right now. And that's not saying that Brand's bad. That's just saying that Brand as the champion is difficult to play currently. And I think this isn't really super necessary. I think it's just kind of because of who he is as a champion that they buffed him, because he felt like underwhelming just due to how little he's played right now. But that's a really nice damage buff for Brand. I hate Brands because they just can one-shot me already, I feel like. So this is kind of scary for me, but we'll have to see in the games itself anyways. Evelyn E-buff fix. So Whiplash no longer goes on cooldown if it fizzles due to Evelyn no longer having vision of her target. So that's a quality of life buff for Evelyn so that her E doesn't get whiffed and go on cooldown for nothing. So that's good. Moving on to Graves. Graves' Q cost and cooldown is decreased, and W slows more heavily but for less time. Graves has an unreliable early game. His burst damage is high enough that it doesn't need an increase, so we made small changes to give him more room to shine early. So his Q costs 60 to 100 mana, and now it costs 60 to 80 mana. So they took 20 mana off the max rank. So that's kind of nice for him, because that will matter earlier on. Cooldown, they reduced the cooldown by 1 second flat for every rank. That's really nice too. I don't think Graves is in a bad spot already. I think Graves is in a pretty balanced spot right now. But let's look at this. W Smokescreen, his slow strength is 50% at all ranks, but it only slows for half a second rather than a second and a half. So I want to talk about this right now because this is kind of a big change to Graves. And I know I mentioned earlier that Graves isn't exactly in a bad spot. He's in a decent spot right now. He's got good clear speed. He's got good damage. This is nice with the nerf or the buff on his mana and his cooldown for the Q. But this is kind of the big change here with his smokescreen. Let's be honest. Smokescreen is 95% of the time being used for the slow. It's not being used for the actual blinding of a champion. And that's okay. That's what the ability generally is being used for. The reason this is huge for Graves is because the slow strength is just getting completely buffed at all ranks to 50%. So you can drop one rank into this, and I know W is generally ranked up last anyways, but it's still going to be just as effective, if not the cooldown or whatnot is going to be lower. But still, having 50% of a slow even if it's for 0.5 seconds, is going to allow Graves extra time to get to the person he's trying to kill. The thing is with this is 15 to 35%. Yeah, that's a slow, but those aren't really, I mean, yeah, once you get to 20, 35%, those are big slows, but they're not going to be in that smoke screen long enough for that 1.5 seconds to matter. So even if they're standing there for 1.5 seconds in the smoke screen, they're still only going to be slowed for 20, 30% of their move speed. But in reality, the smoke screen's being used for that 0.5 seconds to slow them for 50%, so it's going to be a front-loaded slow, so it'll allow him much more time to get there and do the damage. So this is really nice for Graves, because this really was kind of unnecessary as it was, but this is going to be really good for his ganking potential here. It's just going to allow him more utility when he's actually coming out of the jungle. Moving on, Heimdinger. Big turret damage, decreased. Yeah. Heimer does some serious damage, probably too much. So the upgrade on the Q, base damage down 100 damage flat. Oh my god, they just literally cut that in half. So 100, 180. They literally I don't think Heimdinger was in a bad spot or too strong. This is very big nerf. So they just literally cut half the damage on all ranks at his evolved turret's laser, it looks like. Turret beam, yeah. So this is a big nerf for Heimer. I don't think it's going to make or break him, because it's fires once, twice, 3 times maybe, and if you get hit by it, you're bad anyways. So I don't think it's going to really make or break him, but that is a big damage nerf, and I don't understand why that's there, but then again, I see Heimer maybe once every 30 games or so. So that's whenever I see cuts like literally 50% off of the damage, it just worries me. So I'm not sure. Kayle. Kayle's attack damage growth and bonus attack speed is reduced, and her E cooldown is increased early and decreased later. So let's see, her attack damage growth is hit by 0.6. Her innate bonus attack speed is nerfed to 10%. So that's going to hurt Kayle. And then her Righteous Fury is going to be nerfed at early rank and buffed at later ranks. So they're trying to make her more of a late game threat, it looks like. Trying to nerf lower the cooldown on her Righteous Fury. But this is pretty decent. She, already, especially with this 18 at Righteous Fury early on, she struggles relatively early like that. I don't know, man. That's I don't understand the purpose of this. I understand why they're doing the cooldown on the Righteous Fury. I do. 16 at all ranks is kind of baseline. They're trying to make her more of a late game hyper threat with her Righteous Fury attack speed, CDR cooldown items. I don't know why they nerfed the bonus attack speed and the attack growth. But that will definitely affect her early game, and she's going to struggle against lanes. But I don't play Chaos, so it doesn't matter to me. Skarner, E proc deals more damage and stuns for longer. Base mana increased. So, if you're like me, you see Skarner once every 100 games, maybe. And I think this is Riot trying to fix that. So, Skarner is played more. Her base mana is at 320 from 272, so that's literally just a 50 increase in mana right there. And then the proc damage on her fracture, or his fracture, is up 5 damage, and it just goes up from there. So that's pretty nice. And then the stun duration is another half a second, so that's actually really good for his ganks. So Skarner is kind of an awkward champion in the sense that he can fit any role, right? He can be a tanky threat, he can be a damaging threat, he can do a hyper or some sort of hybrid, but this is going to be really good for his ganks because it doesn't really need CC in the lane, somewhat like Graves would need CC in the lane. He kind of brings his own, and that one extra half a second of a stun and the extra damage means he's going to be a lot more scary in the early game. So I'm expecting to see Skarner played not a lot more, but a decent amount more. Syndra had some bug fixes about time. Dark spheres, yeah, with the Zhonya's and stuff like that, right? Yeah, so the 3 spheres orbiting Syndra now properly materialize. Even if the target dies, Syndra's movement no longer becomes funky for a few seconds after it dies. Yeah, so just a bunch of bug fixes for Syndra, so that's nice. Zoe, her E-trap arm time increased, our exit portal delay decreased. Zoe's skill shot hit or missed based mostly on her skill, not her opponent's. We want to give a bit more room for players to actively dodge her damage, so we're giving players more time to see where her skill shots are coming from. So, Paddlestar now does not register Zoe's new position for purposes of Q range until she is fully emerged from Portal Jump. So, they are again making it more difficult to queue up your Portal Jump and then your Paddlestar. So it doesn't register the distance between you and the Paddlestar, or the distance of the Paddlestar, until you're fully emerged from the portal, where before you could cast it before you're fully emerged and just the person wouldn't even see you there yet. So that's kind of a quality of life that's a nerf for her. Spell Thief, minions can no longer drop Hextart Gunblade. Good riddance, that was busted. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, delay before the trap is created, another 0.2 seconds on top of it. I really don't think it matters that much, because in all honesty, you see the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, you see it on the ground, you don't walk into it, 0.2 seconds isn't going to make or break it. You know, this is enough time, 0.6 seconds is enough time to realize, let's not walk there. And for some reason, they're allowing an extra 0.2 seconds before it becomes a trap again. So I don't really know the purpose, because it's relatively easy to deal with anyways, but yeah, they did that. And then Portal Jump. The delay before the exit portal appears is 0.1 seconds to 0 seconds. So it's instantaneous. So the exit portal just is instantaneous after you appear at the entrance portal. So there's that. So Zoe got a nerf. Probably she's gonna be more skill reliant. You can't just kind of spam your Q and it'll work. Now you actually have to time it. You have to use it properly. So it's gonna be more skill reliant on Zoe. I don't think it's a huge nerf, but then again, I'm not a Zoe player, so I don't know how she feels. But it is definitely going to be a nerf in terms of, you know, skill-wise. They updated the Vera Splash Art. Ooh, that's nice, yay. And then the Ruins. Predator. A few feels bad parts of Predator. Partial refund. If Predator's channel is interrupted, 50% of the cooldown is now refunded. Okay, that's nice. If Predator's bonus damage is procced via an area of effect ability, it will now prioritize the lowest target. That's nice. That's really nice. Predator's rate of movement speed is increased by 50% for the first half, for the first second and a half of the effect. This is unlisted in the tooltip because if you're making decisions around it, you're probably overthinking things. So that's a big move speed increase for a second and a half. I don't know. I don't think you're necessarily overthinking things if you're making decisions around it, because, you know, champions like Hecarim have increased attack damage based on your move speed. And if you're increasing your move speed by 50% on Hecarim when he's ghosting and charging at you, that's a lot of damage. So this could be a relatively larger change and make it more prevalent. I don't think it's going to be picked much more, but like the fact that it gets cooldown gets refunded if it gets interrupted, you get lowest health target priority on it, and you get increased move speed. It's probably going to be picked a bit more. I'll actually probably try it out after this because that looks kind of nice. And then the resolve path stat bonuses. So taking resolve as a secondary chain was a good call in the old system because they gave you a decent chunk of baseline durability. Without the stats, taking resolve in the new system doesn't feel great. We're changing the way resolve grants stats as a primary secondary tree in order to make it more viable as a secondary tree. So if you took resolve as a primary tree and then you took sorcery, you would have gotten 130 health. So regardless, if you took resolve, you would have gotten 130 health. Now they changed it. If you took resolve and sorcery, you get 65 health, 10 ability power, and 6 attack damage. Resolve and domination, 65 health, 9 ability power, and 5.4 attack damage, and precision, 65 health and 9% attack speed. That's kind of cool. I like that. Resolve secondary, you would have gotten ability power and attack damage. Same thing for all of them except for precision, where you could attack 18% attack speed. Where they changed it to get the same exact bonuses as you got if you took it as a primary. I don't know how this is gonna work out. I like that they did this because honestly, 130 health early is, bless you, 130 health is a lot of health. And I know that was to respond to the fact that you're missing masteries and runes and masteries from the last, original, not the original, but the past rune system. So they're nerfing the amount of health you get, but they're increasing the damage you do, essentially, which will help a lot of people's jungle clears. I really like that's a cool. I like this a lot, actually. But they do that when it's resolved as secondary as well, so that kind of is cool as well. I don't know. It's tough because if your precision, right? You want all that attack speed. Generally, you want all that attack speed, and then you get 65 health, and then you nerf the attack speed. So it's kind of rough. I don't know how it's going to play out. I really like this, though, when you have Resolve Primary, that you get all these extra bonuses to attack damage and attack speed as well. I don't necessarily like them as the secondary, just because I liked where it was as the secondary, because if you already had it, it gives you, you know, enough survivability with the actual masteries you get, so you didn't necessarily need this bonus health. I would have rather had the damage on it, but you know what? It's not going to make or break anything, I don't think. 65 health and you're nerfing like a little bit of damage early on. At that point, why not just go Resolve Primary? It really depends, because the champions that do this are mostly doing it so they survive the early game, right? And yeah, 65 health. That's one auto at early game. Really, it's really not that huge of a deal. So either way, then bug fixes, item selling. So normally selling an item means buying another right after. Selling it and then leaving base immediately is almost always a misclick. So if you close the item shop within 0.25 seconds of selling an item, the sale's canceled. So that's nice, I guess. And then readability improvements: higher contrast, red health, darker background, bigger, brighter text. So they changed the UI a little, or not the health bars and such. So that's cool. It's very jarring when they changed it the first time. I was very confused. But I'm sure it's fine. I can't imagine it wouldn't be. Honor now. So Honor gets reset at the season, and then you get checkpoints between levels 2 and 3 players who are finished at level 3, 4, and 5 Honor, who gain a small boost depending upon their level. So if you're level 2, you get level 2 Honor with no checkpoints. If you're level 5, you get level 2 with 3 checkpoints. So they're just kind of reverting it back to what it was. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to affect how much, you know, blue essence you get and such like that. They're changing how it gets rewarded. I really don't care about that. I'm not here to go over that. I'm here to go over the changes. So either way, here's some more buffs. And then probably the biggest change and the most important change in this patch is this penguin emote. So everyone be prepared for next patch, because you're going to have to spend some money to get that emote, because I need to do that. And then just don't ever do this one, because yeah, you don't need more things to give Yasuo players. Come on, we really don't want that. Anyways, that's it. So thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, yada yada yada. Get this penguin emote and then play League of Legends. So thank you all, and have a great day.